Hola amigas y amigos, welcome back to the Green Cards to Greenback Show. I am your host, Nestor Vargas. I'm going to help you find peaceful prosperity by sharing practical money tips and proven mindset hacks. I'm a certified financial planner with over 12 years of experience and a first-gen kid who now makes over 6 figures only working 3 months per year. If you're a Latino or Latina looking to dramatically improve your current situation, well, this is the show for you. In this show, you will hear real-world examples of what other successful people are doing to make more money and live a better life. Let's dive into the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Green Cards to Greenbacks podcast. I am delighted you're here today. We all know Cinderella's story, an orphan who was taken advantage by her stepmother and stepsister. And even though Cinderella, it's a fairy tale story, this scenario is actually playing out all the time where minors are left behind when both of their parents pass away and their family members take advantage of them completely, right? They empty out their bank account and these kids have no future. This is a perfect segue to talk about estate planning, which is today's topic. Have you ever felt anxious about what would happen to your kiddos should you and your spouse pass away? Or how about this? Maybe you're lucky enough not to pass away, but you end up in a hospital bed without being able to talk, and now your spouse and your kids can't access or don't know what to do with the finances. Well, I've got good news for you. If this is the way you feel, or if you've ever felt this way, today we're going to talk about a process that will take maybe 3 or 4 hours out of your valuable time to stop feeling anxious, to create a plan for your family, and to be responsible, to do the duty that you should be doing for your family. All right, so in today's episode, what I'm going to cover today is 3 topics. The first topic is I'm going to give you some steps you can take right now without actually having to do any type of formal estate planning, which will absolutely improve the outcomes for you and your family should anything happen to you. The second thing is we're going to go over some of the popular documents that go into estate planning. And most importantly, I'm going to tell you the top 3 reasons why trusts are created. So we're going to kind of just bust the myth of what a trust is and just really get into really some practical exercises. And lastly, I want to give you some resources you can use to start thinking about your estate plan. Alrighty. So, are we ready to get started? I hope we are, because I am. This is stuff that really gets me going. It's something that I'm really passionate about. I hope you can tell, right? So what is estate planning? Estate planning is the process of making sure that your wishes are carried out for you and your family if and when something happens to you. And the reality is, guys, we don't know when something's going to happen to us. So the time to do estate planning is right now. It's not tomorrow. It's not as you get older. It's right now. It's not just for the wealthy. It's for everyone. You owe it to your family. Alrighty. So let's talk about steps you can take right now without having to do an estate plan to protect your family. First is making sure you title your account correctly. So let's say you are married. Let's not have any individual accounts unless this is something that has been advised by your lawyer. But let's not have any individual accounts. Let's make sure we have joint accounts and that the joint account is titled primarily here in Colorado with rights of survivorship. So the account will be something like joint WROS with rights of survivorship. So that means is that if you pass away, your spouse automatically gets the account. It's not frozen. They have full access to it. I can't tell you how many times when I was at Fidelity, someone would call to say, hey, so-and-so's passed away, and we had to freeze the account right there and then because there was no joint with rights of ownership. So make sure that any non-retirement account is titled that way unless there's a specific need. And by the way, all this advice that I'm giving you is educational in nature. We always want to make sure we have a lawyer. We sit down with the lawyer and really get their take on this. But over the past 12 years, these are pitfalls that I'm making sure that you don't fall into, that you can avoid. All right. So we talked about titling your accounts correctly. The second thing is making sure you have your beneficiaries assigned to your accounts. Oh man, I can't tell you how many times I look through clients' accounts, there's no beneficiaries or the beneficiaries are incorrect. So make sure that you take the time to, one, take inventory of what accounts you have. That's really a beginning step. Then two, go through each account and understand what beneficiaries you have. Make sure they're the appropriate ones. And not just your account. What about your life insurance? Make sure you have the proper beneficiaries with life insurance. All right. The third is make sure that you have a conversation with your spouse right now about what you want her or him to do should you end up in a position where you're in a coma for a prolonged period of time. So, for an example, in my documents, because we actually took the steps to take the documents and create a document, you don't have to tell your spouse, hey, after, I don't know, a month, 2 months, whatever you feel is comfortable, take me off life support. And then don't forget, this is the really important step. Make sure that you tell your parents as well about your wishes. Because the last thing you want is your spouse to get in an argument with your parents about when you should be taking a life support. That's the last thing you want these people to have. And actually, you know what? I'll take it a step. Send out an email and copy both people so there's something in writing. All right. So those are the 3 steps you can take right now without actually having to do a formal estate plan to improve your estate planning approach. All righty. Second topic we're going to talk about is some of the formal documents that estate plan actually contains. I want to really provide some practical explanations on this. We've heard about trust, and sometimes people think that a trust is just for the wealthy, but that's not necessarily true. A trust is there to do 3 things for you. It's there to protect, incentivize, and control. Again, protect, incentivize, and control. So one of the things that a trust is really good at doing is protecting the assets from any creditors. This could be also a spouse. Maybe you pass away, your spouse remarries. You want to make sure that the wealth that you guys created is protected for your kiddos and that that new spouse doesn't get the ability to get after that money. So there are many reasons to protect your assets, and that's what a trust does really well. Okay. The second thing is incentivize. For me, I have incentivized my kiddos through a trust. So if Megan and I pass away, that they have to have a certain grade average in college before they can actually start getting a big piece of the trust that will be left behind for them. Okay. So you can incentivize your kiddos, you can incentivize whoever you want to do something after you pass away because these documents dictate exactly what needs to be met before that person can actually receive the assets. And then third is control. You actually can't control who gets the money, at what point, how the money should be invested. So you actually are able to control after your passing how your assets and your money are invested or who gets them. So again, incentivize, protect, and control. 3 different things that trust can do. There's different types of trust. We're not going to get into them, but I hope this is helpful in helping you understand what a trust does and why not only the wealthy should think about getting a trust. All right, the second thing is Advanced Healthcare Directive. This is a really good one. Look, you don't want to put your spouse or your parents in a position where they have to decide when you should be taken off of life support. You don't want to do that. They're already mourning. Don't put them through that. That's what the document does. It actually states how long you should be on life support or your end of life wishes. Everything's already spelled out so that they don't have to make those decisions for you. It's one less thing they have to do when they're going through such a terrible time. Okay. The second thing is a durable power of attorney. There's something also called a springing power of attorney, which is not very popular. It's out there, it's not very popular, but a durable power of attorney basically allows another person to act on your behalf financially. And the reason that's really important, especially for spouses, is that if you end up laid up in a bed for a prolonged period of time, your spouse needs to get into your bank account, your spouse needs to get into your brokerage account. Maybe you haven't taken the right steps to actually title the accounts correctly. Like I told you at the beginning of this podcast, well, this document's going to allow them to get access to those documents. Even retirement accounts without a durable power of attorney, they're going to have a really hard time doing anything. So it's really important that you get that together and that you really think through who you're going to provide those powers to. The last will and testament is really basically a direction for the court on your wishes. You're basically telling the court, here's what I want my assets to go to, or here are my wishes. That's still probatable. Probatable is really a court process where a judge gets to decide a lot of things. That's why I want to avoid probate. It's costly, it's time consuming. Your family has to go get a lawyer. You want to avoid probate as much as you can. And that's where trust comes in. That's where having your accounts properly titled comes in. And I'm a big proponent of trust. And they're not that expensive, guys. They're not that out of reach. Alrighty. Guardians. Guardians are people who you are given the right and the duty to take care of, a minor and maybe an elderly parent that can't act on their behalf, someone who can't really make legal decisions on their own. And especially with little kiddos, like you want to be able to dictate who you want them to take care of your kids. You don't want the court or stranger doing that for you. My wife and I have two different guardians. We have a financial guardian, so someone that's going to take care of the finances for our kiddos. And then we have someone that is actually going to be with our kiddos and take care of them. We just felt like our family dynamic, that's the way it worked out better. So you don't have to have a guardian to do everything. You can split that. Alrighty. Now that we've talked about steps you can take right now without actually having to have a actual estate document set up, we've also talked about what are some of the popular state documents, what they do. Let's talk about how to implement. Okay, there are two ways that I help clients implement these strategies, and I want to let you know that you have no excuse right now to not have a trust. There are online services. Just type in Google online trust and will that will actually create these documents for you for about $200. Yep, $200. Now, look, I'm not a big proponent of this online services, but if you are, the main objection for you is that it's going to cost too much and you don't have the money, well, let's remove that objection and let's get something that's at least basic and that is going to put your family in a much better position. But the second step is you can actually shop around for lawyers in your city that will do this for you at a flat cost. For me, I paid $1,500 to do all of this work, and I feel so much better about it. So I want to leave you with this. I hope this is helpful, but this is what I want to leave you with. My challenge to you is one, go ahead and do the things that I told you to do without actually having to do a estate plan. Title your accounts correctly, check your beneficiaries, and then second, go online or go set up schedule a meeting right now. Put it on your calendar right now, to go meet with a lawyer and take care of your family and do your duty. I hope this is helpful. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Let's go make this greenbacks. Bueno pues, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I want to go ahead and ask you to please send me any questions you may have or any topics you want me to talk about. Go ahead and send them to Nestor, Nestor, at greencardstogreenbacks.com. I actually read every email you send, so I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to head over to greencardstogreenbacks.com for the show notes for this episode and really links to any resources we may have discussed. Bueno, amigos y amigas, nos vemos pronto. Let's go make those greenbacks.